Jason Goliath.
The great Magos.
Hey, man.
First name's
Listen,
not needed.
I've got to just say, I'm fortunate enough to have Jason Goliath, a very famous comedian. He's globally famous in studio. That you're I want to say the first guest, but I had to squeeze in Lisa just before you. You know, she's my business partner, so I should be upset.
I am so glad you did, because Lisa, in my world, is still the queen of earth, and everything needs to go through her in writing. Like sometimes when I'm applying for loans, I send Lisa in writing to whom it may concern, because if she approves, who is FNP?
Exactly.
Who is FNP to tell me?
Listen, it's so lucky to have you in studio.
So good to be here with you, so in your beautiful studio.
Yeah, we've got a big history.
Yeah.
You know, and often I talk about, Jason, how I'm so enamored with how you've grown and what you've done and all this amazing, growth that's come about through the years. And what I wanted to talk about, really,
Yes.
and why I wanted to have you in studio was because not many people have managed to do the creative side.
Yeah.
Work through this comedic world,
Yeah.
which is comedy is one of the hard, if you haven't tried it, it's one of the hardest genre to undertake. And I admire that about you.
Yes.
Because
Agreed.
I mean, I wasn't prepared to take it on. And you did. And I always told you were funny, and I said and there's lots of stories go back to that.
Many.
Yeah.
Many,
we'll cover them as we go. But that sort of route to now being an entrepreneur, and there's a bigger brand.
Yeah.
And that's gone Goliath times 2. So it's like G squared,
Yeah.
G squared.
Yeah. Well,
Goliath,
it's
Goliath and Goliath.
G to the power of 4,
Oh,
technically.
yeah. Okay, true.
G to the power of 4. And the other Goliaths may not be products of Magos, but they are definitely influenced by the teachings. So I just want to make clear that I, Jason Goliath, am product of Magos. I'm proud to say that Pedro was once a great mentor to me. And I often look back, because I do think that mentorship is underappreciated, undervalued. And it's only, I think, when you get to a certain age and you realize that all those things that your mother was saying to you about, you need experience. You can't do things that you don't know. You got to learn first. You got to, and I've got to thank you for so much of the experience, because I hope when you see me do things, you think that's a product of Magos. Like, I hope you can still see your influence, and it's all your fault. And I'll tell you why. It's all your fault because I was with you in a time where I think we met literally when you were transitioning off the microphone completely into business. And I think you, like a lot of stalwarts in the industry, and stalwarts that you trained, I look at guys like Owen Swanson, for example, who now runs one of the biggest voice agencies in the country, one of your competitors, I'm sure, from a Legends perspective. But I remember, all of us working for you. And then I remember you were the first who had to make a decision that it was either the business or the microphone. You couldn't be the guy that was entertaining the people and satisfy the size of the ambition that you've always had, because you were always going to take over the world. I mean, anybody who legally changes their name is ready to take over the world. Let me tell you. If you don't know now, you know. Go and Google. So I watched you step away from something that you were really good at, one of the best I'd ever seen, and devote yourself into crafting people that were just as good as you, but more into building a business. And I saw that sacrifice that you had to make. I then later watched Owen make the same sacrifice, where eventually you can't be the artist and somebody else's manager. Now you're vying for the same jobs. It becomes messy. And I don't think you can ever give your business the type of attention it needs if you still have the passion of an artist. I was, however, I think, able to take inspiration from that and understand the type of sacrifices that I would need to make, because I still want to be the artist. I built a business so that I could be the artist. Like, that was the instruction from day one. Yes. I don't want to be a businessman. Yes. I want to be an artist. So let me build an infrastructure around myself that can sustain me in this space. Not many people had the type of experience that I had to be able to build that business. But we built a business where I am, on a daily basis, more and more becoming an artist and trusting that the business is going to do what the business has done, because of, it's in capable hands. Yeah. And where I'm needed, I get involved. But it was literally that example of seeing you do that, which made it clear to me that if I want a big building in Ilovo and a house in a different country, at some point I'm going to have to choose.
Yes.
Either I'm an entrepreneur or an artist, and I'm going to have to give 100% to one of those things. But you also taught me that the only thing that money affords me is experiences, which gave me freedom to not copy your experience, but rather think about what experiences do I want? What level of the game do I want to play at? It doesn't matter. I'm going to speak about so many things. There was a time, and you'll never forget this. Like, this was because I'm a car guy, this was such a big moment in my mind. You've always had these crazy rich friends that do crazy things. And I'll never forget, you had friends that had bought then the V8. I actually have one of those M3s now, weirdly, in my collection there. That a V8 M3, and you'd bought a little hairdresser's 135i, convertible little 1 Series, and you used to roll with all your friends. And you had hairdresser vibes, but I mean, you know what I mean.
I took the badging off so no one knew it was.
Yes. But I'll never forget you saying to me, listen, boy, they drive M3s. But robot to robot, I kill them. I kill them. My friends, they can't understand it. I kill them. And I looked at you from this weird perspective because I knew that you could afford a better car than them.
Sure.
And I knew that you were busy doing other things. And having the best car in your group didn't mean anything to you. It was hilarious for you that you'd chosen to buy something that made sense based on your strategy at the time and were whipping their asses. But it suddenly gave me the freedom to not compete in the way I was before. So I think competition is healthy. I think we've got to be inspired by each other. I think we've got to compete. But I also think you've got to compete for the things that you want. Because otherwise you end up with Pedro's life and then you're Jason Goliath and you hate that life.
Correct.
Then you've got to make sure that, and what you helped me do is be very clear on what does Jason want. And that's how I approach the business from the start. Now back to you. Sorry, your podcast.
No, the podcast is about you. You know, I love guests and I want to talk to them. And, you know, the reality is that I want to understand your journey because there's a lot of young people that are wanting to either become entrepreneurs, or there's entrepreneurs that have hit ceilings or have hit places. And I'm hoping that what we do and all these conversations we have just kind of set something in someone's mind that just triggers, because I've always there's been, as you said, there's been a lot of people that hopefully I've inspired through the years,
too many,
and grown and helped them get through things and whatever. And now has come the time where I'm in the VC world. It's one of the other passions I've got, and I want to be able to give them some hooks from different, because it's when someone's done it and you're not sure where they've come from, it's difficult to visualize yourself.
Absolutely.
There. But when you can take people through a journey and say, and I think our next segment is failing, and and how you fail and how you deal with failure, and then how you get through that failure and all the rest of it. I mean, I remember the story of you being part of my stable of MCs and being with the agency with Lisa, and you came one day and I sat down and said, my boy, where are you going? I hear you leaving.
Yes.
And then you went off.
There was exactly that amount of bass in it. I still remember that. And that sentence cursed me. Your sentence was, where are you going? I explained to you that I'm going to go sell insurance. And you said to me, the problem with this entertainment thing is, yes, in the short term, you need money, you need lifestyle, you need all of these things. But this is an itch that you will never be able to scratch. I will see you when you're done with whatever this is. Because entertainment, you will be back. You like entertaining people. This thing's not going to leave you. You're going to come back. And I remember thinking, Pedro, he always doesn't want anybody to, because I was young and stupid and I thought you're not on my team. Because that's what you think. As soon as somebody disagrees with you as a young entrepreneur, you think that they are against you. You don't think that they're trying to help you based on their experience.
And not everybody wants the best for you. So let's put that out.
So you also got to be safe.
So
in fact, most people don't want the best for you.
Sure.
So rather have your guard up. But it's also taught me a couple of things. We spoke off camera and we said that entrepreneurship is like being a superbike rider. It is exciting. It is, you got to hold on. It is unpredictable. But there's also only two types of superbike riders, those that have fallen and those that are still going to fall. And we say that entrepreneurship should be categorized as the same thing because there's only two types of entrepreneurs, those that have failed miserably and those that are still going to fail 100%. Miserably.
100%.
So I listened and didn't listen. I left I remember I was still a casino host at Empress Palace. I saw this amazing ad to go and sell insurance, and it had this is funny because it said OTE 120,000 rand a month. And I thought it was opportunity to earn, not on target earnings, because that's how dumb I was at the time. I didn't even realize what OTE went. And I went in and was mesmerized and started selling insurance and started my own brokerage very soon after that. And the first thing I want to tell entrepreneurs is that expect the world to be unfair. The world is not fair. All those fairy tales that we read, all this thing that you see about karma, and you believe that, just do the right thing and things will work out. I believe that over the course of your life, that's true. When you're doing the right thing, the right things will happen to you. But in the short term, the world doesn't care about your feelings. I started an insurance business. I did everything by the book. I listened to people like you, where I made sure that I had a good accountant, a good this, I double checked that. I wasn't spending the money on things that weren't helping the business. And I still went under in spectacular flames. So I think the first thing every entrepreneur needs to hear, and I've been saying this in interviews and I've been getting a bit of flack for it, because a radio interviewer will say to me, Jason, if there's a kid in matric listening that wants to start stand-up comedy, what do you have to say to them? And I go, don't do it. Go and study as far as your parents will pay, and then go and earn a salary and make your 25th pay slip somebody else's problem, but your money must be in on the 25th. I'm like, go and do that life. That's the life you must go and do. Go and make sure that when your money is not in, you can phone somebody and say, where's my bloody money? Don't make your money your responsibility. Then they say, that is so negative. How can you say that to a young comedian? And I go, no, because I wish that somebody told me how hard it is, how difficult it is. Because if there's somebody out there that thinks it's easy, they're going to fail and be miserable and waste time in their lives. But if there's somebody that's going to ignore this advice and want it so badly that they're going to try it anyway, that person, I think, has got a chance.
Yes.
So the person who's going to go, I'm going to ignore Jason Goliath telling me not to do this. I want this so bad. I believe in myself so bad that I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it hell or high water. Then you're going to make it. So the first thing that failure was bitter, like I said, because I tried. I worked my ass off. It was unfair because when it came down to it, all of the people that were there eating the money with me were not there when it came to recouping the money. I went through the ugliest, I still deal with calls from lawyers. The liquidation, in 2009, my business liquidated we owed just over 9 bar, and you know how much money, even in today's times, that's a lot of and my business partner left the country. He's living a great life somewhere else because he had a family. And I was a softie. I was like, no, it's fine. You got kids. I don't have kids. I'll stay here. I'll field these calls. And eventually, even he stopped answering my calls when I was looking for help. And I had to face all of those things on my own. So I think and you know this very, very well, which is why you've got to protect yourself. And I've watched you protect yourself at every step of your entrepreneurship journey, is make sure whatever you're getting involved in, that you can be accountable for whatever the results. You can be accountable for the success. You can be accountable for the flop. But at every point of this, I was learning. At every point of this, I was developing. If I had to look back, somebody said to me the other day in a podcast, hey, if you were to bump into 20-year-old Jason, what would you say to him? And I said nothing. And they said, what do you mean? I said, firstly, 20-year-old Jason was an asshole. He would not listen to me. The first thing he would say is, look at your body. You can't even look after yourself. You want to lecture me, you fat bastard. That's the first thing 20-year-old Jason, because he thought he knew, 20-year-old Jason. He thought he knew everything on earth. He was so cocky. He thought the world is his oyster. He had no idea. So I would say nothing, because 20-year-old Jason needs to make every mistake he made so that 44-year-old Jason can enjoy the life that I live today. So my fear is if I change one little thing, I change everything today. And right now, there is nothing I would change. I have my dream life because my influences taught me that I can engineer the life that I want based on the effort I'm willing to put in. Everything has a cost. If you are willing to put up the cost, you will enjoy those things. Be patient, work hard, work properly. And if you're not going to work properly, don't work at all. If you're not going to dollar properly, stay in bed. Don't get out of bed. Rather do it tomorrow. Like, show up.
I remember you coming in a year later, because it was a year later. I think maybe it was a year and a half. I can't remember. And Oh, was it 4 years? I
4
felt
years.
like a year that you
Yeah.
left.
No, time flew
And
because
then-
you were also building a lot of things at the time.
Yeah,
Time
I
flew that
was.
time.
And he walked in, and I remember you saying, "Fuck you, Magos, fuck you."
Yeah.
I don't know if I
Yes.
could put that on, but anyway,
Yeah, you can. It's
It
the
was-
internet.
it's the internet.
Beep
But
it out.
we had a good laugh. We laughed
Yeah.
a lot, and then you got started back, and then you went off. The reality is that you have slowly built it up, and I
Yes.
think there was this rush to get there.
Yeah.
And then you realize that compound patience and time pays off.
Compound patience and time pays off, but it's as literal as that. So people speak about compound interest. Compound interest and compounding only works when there was an initial investment.
Yeah.
And compounding interest and the success thereof will only be reflective of the investment initially.
Yeah.
So I watched somebody like you invest wholeheartedly, slowly, at a pace that is far too slow for me in terms of seeing results. I've always struggled with the concept of delayed gratification. I want everything to happen quick. I want it to happen now. And watching you has helped me find my gearing. So my business looks nothing like yours. When COVID came, we closed the offices. I cut overheads by 70% within the first 6 weeks. We had a very different approach to everything. But what my business is for me.
Yeah.
It's my business. It satisfies me. I hope my business partners feel the same in terms of it being for them and yielding what they've done. We've managed to implement a lot of changes, but the approach was different because of the failure.
Yeah.
So because I failed, realizing that even when you do things properly, you can fail. It changes the type of things you do. If you fail after doing things properly, it's because you weren't doing the right things to begin with. I should have never been selling insurance. I was never passionate about insurance. I never cared about insurance. I pay a lot of money to insurance companies now because we all need to be insured, but I'm still not passionate about insurance. So when I look back, even though I did it properly, because there was no real passion or care from my side, and the marker was financial success only, I think that's why that business failed. So as an entrepreneur, I strongly advise entrepreneurs that are not satisfied by what they are doing, that there is a higher chance of failure because you don't care and you are in this for the wrong reasons. When you and when they go, but I go, the problem is you're going to sit across the table competing bid for bid with somebody who is passionate, and then people are not going to book you because they can see the difference between somebody who is and somebody who isn't, and you don't want to come up against somebody who isn't. So the trick for me was to understand before I started building the businesses, what are the objectives for me? What am I working for? What type of life am I looking? What are my markers of success? And then I could whittle it all the way down to the basics. Cool. Let's start with something that is going to be sustainable. Let's start with something that is not going to be this overnight rush to fame. Let's also start with something that has looked at the data and compared to businesses that are similar. What is the industry doing? Who are my competitors? How would I like to be seen by these competitors? And I became incredibly strategic in the beginning. There were a number of businesses that nobody knew about. So what we did is we became the first above the line comedy brand. And when I say that, there were many businesses, but people knew comedians. They didn't know their businesses. And that meant that those comedians, even though they had businesses, the success of those businesses were linked to the reputation of the comedian. And I was like, oh, that's a flop. So that means if I end up on Twitter, my whole ecosystem collapses because somebody doesn't like me. So how do I build something that's independent of me, that can sustain me, that can be the infrastructure and support systems that I need? And we started on this journey. We're in a space now where we've been able to diversify in a number of areas. So we've got a creative consultancy. We are Netflix's, I always say it wrong, so Kate and Don, a digital creative agency, and we our second year contractually, and the guys are knocking it out the park, and it's been phenomenal, and it's been incredibly refreshing to start building income streams away from stand-up comedy and have things, we don't have to have a microphone in our hands to kind of create turnover. But younger Jason would have done that 10 years too early. He wouldn't have made sure that foundations are settled. I mean, I look at this building, we're in a little podcast studio here, but there's a massive building around this. And I don't know if a lot of people know that you bought this building one bite at a time. Sure. Like, you know what I mean? It was like, it started off slow and steady. And even at the time, there was major risk involved, but you only to your appetite. You weren't listening to noise. You weren't taking pressure from anybody. You've always just been on your thing at your speed, doing your best. I'm speaking too much.
No,
Pedro
but
thought this thing was going to be 15 minutes. He thought this thing was going to be 15
Yeah,
minutes.
come in for 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah,
have a
yeah.
chat.
Never.
But the problem is when
Never.
you and I get together,
No,
it
there's too
never
much
is.
English.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. What was really cool was we had a conversation about that one thing that I said to you about experience, which I think is kind of the seed
Yeah.
of change in your mind.
Major.
And I think we've spoken about this a couple of times off
Yeah.
mic, obviously. But that, you unpacked that really nicely, and it might be quite nice because obviously I said to you, don't work for money, work for experience.
100%. Your words were, the only thing money affords you is experience. So don't make the mistake of working for the money, work for the experience. I don't even know if you were experienced enough at the time to be able to tell me that everybody speaks about the why. Know your why.
Yeah.
Years later, you find out that the why is the petrol in your tank. That's what fuels you. That's what gets you out of bed on days when you don't want to do it. Because entrepreneurship is hard. You know this. And there's days where you go, why am I doing this? Why am I putting myself through all of this? Somebody's offering me an out. Somebody's offering me an opportunity that's soft. And if you're not clear on your why, it's on your difficult days that you will waver from your decision. Then a sentence like that makes your why clear, because you're not working for money. I am working to be able to afford my wife X house, X holiday, X car, X whatever. So while I'm doing it, when my alarm goes off, I know why this alarm is going off. Because even me that's very passionate about making jokes, best believe there's days where I've got to go make jokes for South African Revenue Services to come for me. You know what I mean? Then you're like, I don't want to go make jokes for SARS, man. Then you think, hey, man, but I promised my wife this thing, that we're going to have this experience and we're going to do this thing. And even while I'm at it, so it's like, if you're going to be successful, you have to manage your appetite for eating shit.
Yeah.
The higher your appetite for eating shit, the further you will go.
Yeah.
And I can't explain that. I deal with entrepreneurs every single day who think it's going to be easy. They want shortcut. They don't want to take it in the teeth.
Yeah.
Then I'm like, it's those guys who eventually don't make it. What you learn in my business is, and I say this to artists all the time, and let this be because I think the same applies to entrepreneurs. It's not about being the best. It's not about being the most talented. For me, on the top of the list is being easy to work with. Being easy to work with has a number of things in that pool. It means that you are reliable. It means that you're going to show up on time. It means that you are guaranteed to deliver. I've told some of the best artists in this country that I don't care that you are the funniest. If I don't know that you're going to come, I'm going to book number 2. If I don't know that when you come, you're going to respect my audience and deliver on the brand that I've created, I'd rather book number 2, who's going to show up, respect my audience, deliver a great set, make sure that everybody feels that they received value for money, and carry on. Then I feel like as an entrepreneur, it's the same thing, because we get caught up with sentences like, I want to be the biggest, I want to be the best, I want to be the greatest. Then I'm just like, don't be all of those things. You know what you do want to be? Here tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's what you want to be. As an entrepreneur, you want to be around tomorrow.
Listen, I love the experience in terms of the outer world. So talk a little bit about experience on a day-to-day. I mean, you spoke about it being an insurance broker.
Yeah.
But ultimately, what also was beautiful is that you said, it's also the experience that I'm having
100%.
right now.
100%.
The reality is you here having a chat with me because you enjoy this experience, right?
Absolutely.
So what you really want and what I enjoy is that I'm able to speak to young kids, and I call you.
Yeah, I'll forever be your kid.
Who've come up through the ranks. I mean, I met you when you were 19, 20. I think that was kind of.
Actually, you met me, and I remember I was 23.
Right.
I was 23.
You always looked younger, you see that.
I still do. You know what I mean? It's just that's how I believe the bloat stretches the skin. You know what I mean? You just look at the gray gives it away now. But so I forget the question. I get too excited.
Experience.
But so, Pets, I can't. I wish I was that guy that could sit here and go, I'm a team 5 a.m. I wake up early. I hit the gym. I get my life. together. But in honesty, I've always been the enemy of those guys. You know me. Don't fucking phone me before 10. What are you doing? Don't phone me before 10. And salad? No. You know what I mean? I don't have kids. You have kids. Eat salad. You know what I mean? You must live long. I must live well. We're not the same. We are not looking for the same things.
Sure.
So I'll tell you about the way my daily experience have changed instead of trying to articulate what my daily experience is, because every entrepreneur is going to have a different day. I was trying to be the busiest while making the most money, while doing all of these things. And a weird thing happened. I do a gig, and it's probably 8 or 9 years ago now. And this really also just helped me with course correction. I do a gig out in the Drakensberg for a big motor company. And I travel to the Drakensberg. I fly to Durban and I jump in a shuttle I'm emceeing the conference, and they've got a conference speaker that they've flown in from the UK, a guy called Kevin Gaskell. If you don't know Kevin Gaskell, go and Google Kevin Gaskell, go and buy his books, go and read. So this O was a rescue CEO, was what his claim to fame was. This O's rescued Porsche UK, BMW UK, one of those guys that they call him in when the business is in trouble. He fixes, he moves on. He's written books, he's got businesses in South Africa, he owns businesses around the world. So we land, he doesn't know me, I don't know him. We jump in the shuttle, we sit in different rows, not a word is spoken. I toss the whole way to the Drakensberg, because you know me, I also can't now be begging for your conversation. I don't know you, you don't know me, let's just rather sleep. I sleep all the way. The next day he gets to see me work, I get to see him work. Both of us have now established credibility and a mutual respect for each other. The following day, we're back in the shuttle together, back to the airport. But now we have a relationship now. So I go, hey, Kevin, these people, they flew you from the UK. They paid money for you to come here, and they bought your book for everybody. And now I'm going to be in a shuttle with you for 2 hours. I know what this 2 hours cost. Do you mind if I ask you some questions? And the bra's like, let's go. Let's go. So he says, before you ask any questions, let me ask you a question. And I say, go for it. He says, I see you in a suit. We're traveling back to the airport. I go, no, I'm not. I'm traveling back to Durban. I'm not traveling back to the airport. So he's like, are you busy? I'm like, bro, I'm on my way I just finished Hyundai conference. I'm on my way to Toyota's conference in Durban. It's wild. It's like, he's like, I'm crazy busy. And he says, well, let this be the first lesson that I give. He said, if you are too busy, your rate is too low. If you are not busy enough, your rate is too high. He said, my boy, that simple phrase is going to change the way you price yourself, because you've been working for money. I work for time off. Then I said, wait a minute, what are you talking about? He said, no, you're looking for more work. I'm looking for less work for more money. He said, because time is the thing. Time is the value. Having free time, that's the real currency. That's the thing we all can't afford. Yeah. So he said, if I could have you work 15 days compared to the 30 days a month you're aspiring to work for the same amount of money so that you could have 15 days off, do you not think that that's a bigger win? Yeah. And I said, it's absolutely a bigger win. So it made sure that, it made me do an investigation into my currencies, what the market is doing, where the money is, what I should be charging, how I should be getting that money. Then I, since that day, have sincerely been working to do as little as possible. You see, I'm not like you. I love doing nothing. Like me, I'm a Champions League nothing doer. Like, Pedro, you don't understand how great I can do nothing for weeks. And okay, look, after like 12 days, there's a voice that goes, "Oh, we're rich. We don't need to work. We don't have to." But I can. That's
your mother. That's your first mentor. That's mentor number one.
The original voice. But I keep saying to people, like, we're not the same, and it's become so difficult to compete with me. Because I'm not working for more things. Yeah. I'm working for more time. More time with my wife, more time with my couch, more time with my dogs and my PlayStation. I'm working for more time. So over the years, if you ask me what a typical day is like, this is the first thing I'm doing for the year. I came out of holiday because I go in a cave at the end of every year. The year is so crazy. I try to take a full month at the end of every year. What a luxury. Who gets to just say no thank you for a month? Don't phone me. And I went proper dark this time. I mean, I don't think I took your call the first time you tried to call me for the thing, because I was in the cave. I was like, it's fun this January. This is not time for, this is not a time. And then it's obviously you, so I got a phone back. To the people I haven't phoned back, February's coming. I'll phone you in Feb. But it's so the gift of my entrepreneurship has been building a business that gives me time. So it cost me a lot of money in the beginning. It still costs me a lot of money now to run the infrastructure, but the infrastructure is responsible for me being able to not work as much.
Mm.
What happens now is, a great man once said that your yes, we all understand the rules. Discipline is the most important thing. And I watched that bra Kip Kodje. I can never remember his marathon runner. That marathon, you know that guy.
From Kenya.
100%. And they said to him, "Where do you think your greatness comes from?" And he said, "Hey, I changed the thing where I made sure that my activity is no longer dependent on my mood." And then I listened, because I was like, okay, you know me, I like a good sentence. And I was like, that's a nice sentence. What does that mean? And then he said, "You see, what happens with you in your life is, on Christmas Day, after eating all that food, you've never been more motivated to go to the gym. You make deals with yourself to say, 1st of January, I'm done. I am in the gym because you bloated, your bloody jeans doesn't want to close. You know what I mean? The shirt buttons are popping. You're like, I'm going to the gym." Then he says, Monday morning comes and your mood on Monday morning is nowhere near in the mood to go to the gym. Then you don't go to the gym. Then he just said, I make sure that my mood and my activity don't exist in the same place. So if I need to do XYZ to achieve XYZ, I do XYZ, no matter what my mood is. Find ways to make that happen. So what I did compared to my competitors is, I just made sure that my office is always in the mood to deal with you. My office is always in the mood to take your inquiry. My office is always in the mood to go the extra mile. And it's that type of activity outside of self that's allowed me to be the kind of architect of the lifestyle that I live now. The sacrifices are, like I said, we're not the same. I live in a small house. I have a lot of things, but I can afford all of those things. I use the basics that, I used to do sales training back in the day. And when I would train salesmen, it's the same as training an entrepreneur. I would say to them, the fatal flaw that most salesmen make is their lifestyles are reflective of their best month. Then you stay a salesman forever. And they would say, what does that mean? And I would go, in order to move up the chain of the hierarchy, the best salesman should always earn more than his immediate report. So if you're a good salesman, you'll always earn more than your manager. And then that means, to move to manager, you're going to have to take a pay cut. And most salesmen are living on that breadline of lifestyle. So when that opportunity comes, they can't take the job. Not even don't want to take the job. I can't take the job. What do you mean I'm not going to be able to afford my bills? So I used to always say to guys, if you can have your lifestyle expenses based on your worst month instead of your best month, you will open yourself up to opportunities all the time. So the big lessons for me were, I think there's different types of entrepreneurs. My goal has been I'm working for time, and I'm working to never have a noose. I must never have a noose. There's never the type of pressure that I can't afford anything, or because I don't like money stress. You know what I mean? So my house on my worst month, end of January, I can afford that house. I live in a very small house. A lot of people come to my house and they say, "You still live here? Isn't this your bachelor apartment?" I say, "Yeah, my wife is very comfortable."
Sounds like Buffett.
And I wish I could compare myself by any stretch to Buffett, but I get it.
Yeah.
I get the Buffett thing
Yeah.
the same as I get the. But I dressed up for you. I generally wear a black T-shirt with a black jeans because I don't want to think about those things,
Yeah.
and I don't want the pressure. I wear a black T-shirt, black jeans because I feel cute in a black T-shirt and black jeans, and I can wear that every day with different khakis. You don't know what you think. So I relate as I get older to all of those methodologies. The Buffett thing, I mean, he's ridiculous. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can't be the
Yeah,
richest
yeah,
man
yeah.
in the world still
Sure.
living in your bachelor
Sure,
apartment. So he takes it to the extreme, but I get that. I get that thing of, because I think that it's so easy as an entrepreneur to get caught up in somebody else's vision, or in somebody else's budget and target. Then you are now hostage to those things or those people.
Yeah.
And I've just been able to kind of build not a very independent, but also I don't have a keystone client. I don't have, there's no one client or individual that is kind of responsible for everything. It has its cons. Am I the
Yeah.
biggest comedian in the country? No. Why? Because I do a lot of other things.
Sure.
Because I can't just have one thing. And I've learned lessons in my life for the type of person that I am. I build a lot, and I used to in my 20s build so that this one person or this one business is so important, and I make them so important. And then you realize that businesses don't have emotions, businesses don't have feelings, businesses have shareholders, businesses have balance sheets, and best believe if any of those things go against you, and I've seen the rug pulled out. So I've also tried to build the type of sustainability that I want to enjoy, that I relate to, while understanding that if I do that, I have to subscribe to the cost of that. And the cost of that is sometimes perceived and maybe as mediocre by other people. I drive a BMW that's M for Maker Plan, not M for Motor Plan. You know what I mean? It's old now, but I love it every single day, and it's for me. I don't know what else other English I can add there.
No, you're 100% right. I mean, ultimately, when I look at you now, from the 20s, I see a humble Jason, who before would be a little bit more, aggressive. And I loved it. I mean, because that's what got you going.
100%. I needed to be that animal.
Yeah. But you've, I think, realized that. So talk to me a little bit about humility, because I think that is something that often lacks in, so how do you balance that staying humble? Because I mean, I see how you treat your clients. We've booked you often from a Magos Media perspective. The other company, the one that keeps me. It's my day job, know. And fundamentally, you've come in. You've always been humble to clients. You always respect. You always say hi. You always say goodbye. You always make an effort with a tea lady. I've seen you always greet our tea lady when you come.
Because she's lovely and she treats me so well, and always has, and she's still here.
Yeah.
And that's a sign of humility and family. And Pits, none of it is real, man.
Yeah.
None of it matters. It can all be taken away tomorrow. I've had it taken away. It is a fallacy to allow things to make you believe you're better than anybody. For me, I'm grateful for every opportunity. I'm grateful every time anybody allows me to turn the microphone on. It's been a little bit more difficult to get there now because, my rate is a bit high. My office is a bit full of shit. I walked into a client the other day and they said, "Oh, we have a qualified sound engineer." I said, why are you saying that? She said, no, the booking form from your office says not only does he want a PA, but he wants a qualified sound. I said, I didn't even know it updated. I didn't even know it's been updated, but that's very good. So yeah, it's become a little bit more difficult to book me now, but I'm still as grateful because there are still 10 Jasons out there willing to come and do it. I believe I try to serve you as best I can, but the same rules that I'm looking for when I'm spending my money is what I have to apply to clients when they're spending their money.
Yeah.
Show up.
Yeah.
Show up. Don't come if you're not going to show up. Showing up to me doesn't mean arriving. It means adding value. I spent so much time training Nicholas and Donovan that when you're at an event, that room and the people that booked you and have seen your invoice, they can't make sense of why you're earning that much money. So your job in the first 20 minutes is for the CFO and the CEO to change their body language towards you from, why are we paying this bastard so much money, to, good God, we should have paid him more.
Yeah.
Show value.
Yeah.
Show interest. And if you can't do those things, say no thank you. Because that's the business card.
Yeah.
That's the business. That's why you trust me with any client that works in this building.
Absolutely.
Why? Because I treat your clients at least as good as you treat them. Is my ambition, and I know that's your ambition too. And the lessons I got from you and the great Craig Berman was the relationship capital trumps all.
Yeah.
Look after people.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it's people, and that has been one of the great gifts of my career, is being able to have good relationships, being able to deliver, being able to have a clean and good reputation, which I work hard for. I learned those things from people who came before me and showed me those rules. We can all be whatever we want to be, but choose your moment, boy.
Yeah. 100%.
Choose your moment.
I mean, you know what? This leads me into the next conversation, because you've spoken about your competitors. And I mean, you're friends with all the big greats. I mean, as far as Trevor, no, I think you're friendly with Trevor. You're friendly with David Cowes. I mean, you've met and you've traveled and gone to Switzerland and Canada. You've done all the big events and that.
I've literally ticked and I think it's because I started so late. So I only started comedy at 30, and then there was all this pressure to go, okay, well, what is possible?
Yeah.
And let's get as much of it done. And when I started the kind of mecca was JFL, which was the big Just for Laughs festival out in Canada, biggest festival on earth for comedians, so even bigger than Edinburgh when it comes to comedians, but also the most exclusive festival on earth, because even the fringe performers have to be invited by the festival. So you 99.99999% of comedians will never be invited, or would never have been invited to JFL. I've been invited to JFL twice. I did JFL with filming a Comedy Central special there, which, I mean, for me, in terms of ticking a box of the dream that a comedian can have, I filmed a Comedy Central special at the biggest festival on earth.
Amazing.
2 years later, Kevin Hart's LOL network, Kevin Hart invites me. And then my life is so crazy that he invites 5 other comedians, well, 2 others from South Africa and a couple from the rest of the world, but the guys perform over different nights. And Kevin is only there for the first night. And I thought, what bad luck do I have? Everybody else gets to warm up. I've got to basically go straight in without, a real feel for the city. And I'll never forget, we had a warm-up show the night before. I went on after Michael Shea and Colin from Saturday Night Live. I got to perform after those guys. Those guys were so funny that when they said they're done, the audience thought the show's over. The audience started leaving. Then the host goes, "Hey, before you go, here's Jason Goliath." And I died on my ass. And I was so angry because everybody else had at least 2 or 3 warm-up shows. I had 1 warm-up show. The next night I'm on. Nick and I prepare, and then Kevin Hart only watched me. He hasn't watched any of the other guys. He was only there for the first night of the festival. I happened to be the first performer. Kevin Hart watches me. Kevin Hart's manager goes, "Oh my God, we've never seen shit like that before." Then I'm just like, what? Who? The world. So in terms of being able to achieve things, there's very little on my bucket list that hasn't been achieved. And I think that's the part of entrepreneurship that nobody speaks about, is dream bigger. Like, I suffered the curse of starting a business at a very low point in my life, which limited, it governed how big I was able to dream. My biggest curse as an entrepreneur was I achieved all of the goals that I'd set out for myself, all of these things that felt impossible. I achieved those things within the first 8 years of stand-up comedy. And then my brain went, and then what? You've all read that thing of, that wins the Olympics and then goes into a deep depression, because then what? The next day, you still wake up. Now you've achieved the thing that your whole life was geared towards. And now what? Yeah. So the biggest mistake I made was dreaming too small. I wish I had Trevor's ambition. I wish I had it. I don't have it, because Trevor and I came up through different streets and different avenues. And Trevor started comedy as a kid compared to me starting it as an adult that had failed already and already experienced how hard life can be, and that everything can be taken away from you at any point. But I wish I dreamt international. Yeah. When I started, people literally asked me, I've always been somebody that's been analytical. And I remember saying stupid sentences in the business to Donovan, Nicholas, and Kate, and especially to Don and Nick, and going, this thing we're doing is, I can feel it's definitely going to go somewhere. So be wise enough to know where you want to end up. Be wise enough to, when you dream, make sure that that's actually what you want, because you don't want to end up there. So I went, for example, I don't want the Trevor thing. And people go, "What do you mean?" And I go, I live walking distance from my mother. I will live walking distance from my sister. I have a wife. I have free time. There's things that I have that after a certain level, you can't enjoy those things anymore. So then I would say stupid things like, and this is now 14 years ago, and the sentence was, "Jason, do you want to be Trevor famous or Joey Rasdin famous?" And I chose Joey Rasdin famous. And when people would say, "Why?" I'd say, because Joey can have breakfast at Wimpy. And they go, "What the fuck does that mean?" I said, "I love Wimpy breakfast. Trevor can't just casually just pull into a Wimpy. The Wimpy comes to a stop if Trevor comes to me. I want my cheese."
Wimpy comes
100%.
Yeah.
So then I'm like, understand those. And it may sound stupid, but those are the consequences that you have to kind of understand. And I only say it was silly on my behalf because I didn't realize at the time that, well, I didn't back myself enough at the time. I wasn't confident enough at the time to believe that I could exceed all of the little milestones that I had kind of put in. So make sure you never ever get to the bone. Make the dream so huge that you go to the grave not achieving it. I think that's the best life you can live. And then just be present and enjoy the journey and celebrate every single day. Live with we do a thing called the happiness economy, and it's based on 3 simple principles every single day: gratitude, acceptance, perspective. If you can appreciate those things, and if you want to know more about those things, come to the show. But if you can appreciate those things, I think you will live the richest life possible.
Perfect. So I'm going to take that as the biggest advice out of this entire conversation. And, we were going to do 15 minutes.
Yeah. Never gonna happen.
Never
We've
going to
been in
happen.
here for 45.
Yeah.
And I still have 45 in me.
But I'm going to end off so that I can give you a break and we can go and have lunch. But what is next for you? Like, what is the next? As soon as you were talking about dreams, like, what's the big dream? What's the next big dream?
I'm glad you.
And
you
I
said
mean,
that.
you can or cannot.
So as an entrepreneur, the pro that I did was I doubled down on corporate. I found where the money in the industry was, doubled down on the money, secured the bag, made sure that I can provide a very exclusive and specific service. I used all of my skills from before comedy to be able to add to that. So we're at a point now where I think for the future, and I think you and I must chat about this, but I don't think sales and marketing are my client for the next 5 years. Personally, I think HR is my client. I think that businesses are going to see entertainment as the luxury item that's going to be first to scratch off. So how do I secure that as an entrepreneur? I make sure that I'm now talking to HR about doing diversity and inclusivity talks, organizational culture talks, and using comedy as a vehicle to kind of land that messaging and showcase. So your staff don't want to have a D&I day. They don't want to have a diversity and inclusivity lecturer coming in here. But if you say to them, listen, you guys have been working hard. I'm bringing Jason in as an incentive because I've worked hard to be publicly seen as a comedian. Bring Jason Goliath in to entertain us. I sit with HR. I see the messaging. I then now deliver something where the barriers to receiving that information are down because they think it's entertainment, and I can still hit the marks. I've done very well in that space. Where I should have been focusing on is building a community online, and guys like Alfred Adrian, I think, is the latest to have properly mastered that. Carvin Goldstone, Riyad Musa, Nick Rabinovitz, Mark Lottering did incredible over the years of nurturing a community of people that they serve with their art. And that just means that when they put up a show, their tickets sell incredibly well because they serve a community that expects and respects. And every year, Mark will sell out the Baxter because this community knows. I focused on corporate, didn't build that public community. So if there's a major mistake that I've done, and something that is now I've got to focus on for the next 5 years, is building that type of community that I will entertain. I think, you spoke earlier about, you should have done this so many years ago. And then I go, you can only say something like that if you weren't doing something.
Yeah.
If you were doing something, then it just becomes next, something that you still to do and you can analyze as you go. But for me,
it was actually this podcast studio.
Yes.
I was saying
100%.
we should have built this 4 years ago.
And then I said, but Prab, you were building things. It's not like you were holding,
I was
sitting on your hands.
Stuff. Yeah,
you were building things. So for me, it's about now starting to invest in the community. So that just means for the first time in my career, social media comes into the fray. Also something that I should have doubled down on 10 years ago. But to me, I'm old like you. Facebook is somewhere to see my friends that moved overseas. It's not a channel to entertain possibly. But all the meetings that I've had this year so far have been strategizing how do I create content in the spaces, not money in the spaces.
Yeah.
How do I create content in all of the different spaces that I'll play in? So the happiness economy is something that kind of lives in corporate and in the public space. How do I create content for the happiness economy? How do I create content to showcase my stand-up, which is separate from the other type of stand-up that I do? How do I create content that showcases the lifestyle? Because I have quite an exciting life. I get to do cool things. How do I create that? So where to from here? And I'm saying this openly so that anybody who's in a position like me, we must all succeed. There's more than enough for all of us. And I've learned that from you, is that if you are generous, people will be generous. It's just the way the world works. So now it's about honing down and building an online community that is not shaped by likes and an algorithm, but rather shaped by how I define the brand up front, and then being patient enough to keep putting it out there until the right people come. Because I think a lot of us run the danger at the moment of changing our brands to suit the algorithm, changing our brands to suit the likes, and then you end up with something that you don't even like, or that you don't even recognize, or that is not yours. So what's next for me is exactly that, focusing on building a community that will come and enjoy my art.
Yeah. That
That's
you're
it.
being sincere to.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
it. From the business point of view, Goliath and Goliath is going to continue its creative genius and will not only continue, I think, especially this year, developing stand-up comedy, but I think that we've got a lot to add in terms of just the creative landscape, and our little agency is quite impressive, if I do say so myself.
Yeah, well done. Listen, I've loved watching on the sidelines. I'm super proud, I think as almost like a dad, looking down and saying, well done. And I mean, I'm not that much older than you.
No, but like a dad, you were. I told you, I quoted you the other day and I said, you need mentors like the mentors I had. I said I would kill it. I'd be on the microphone. I would do exactly what Pedro trained me to do. I thought I killed it. The audience thought I killed it. The client thought I killed it. Pedro is nagging me about, yeah, but you're talking from here. You need to be talking from here. I'm not feeling your diaphragm. And then I'm like, in those moments, you can't kill this guy. Everybody's happy. He's still not happy. There's no pleasing this guy. Then find mentors that believe in you that much.
Yeah.
Find mentors that believe in you, that even when you think you've nailed it, if they can see room for improvement, they're going to point it out. And later on in your life, you'll look back and be grateful for the Pedros in your life to go, the reason I'm great is because somebody showed me that there's more. Somebody set the benchmark, set the standard, and helped me show up. And now I invite all competitors. Let's go. I invite.
Well, listen, I think you're doing an exceptional job. I'm very
Likewise.
proud of you, and I've loved the journey. And we've crossed paths so many times post you kind of moving on and doing your own thing and have grown. So I wish you more of those big dreams, and may those dreams be bigger. And I'll be on the sideline and I'll still poke at you every now and again.
Listen, you'll be on the sideline in your yacht or your whatever. I see you there with you. So for those of you watching this, please go and follow Pedro on all social media platforms, and then please wait for when he's outside of the country for the great fashion show that will ensue. The great fashion show. You know, a person who you go, this person didn't even think about what they're putting on, but they look like a catalog.
You're so funny. Love you. Time to go. See you guys around. Entrepreneurship, mentorship, lots of it.
Yeah, don't do it. Get a job. Get a job. Get paid on the 25th.
Jason, it's been great having you here. I've really enjoyed our time together, and we'll do it again.
Thank you for everything.
I'll come to yours next.
Thank you for everything. They'll never know.
Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you for everything.
And I appreciate your time too. Thank you.
Salutas.